What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hey, what is it with villains, gang? If they're not abducting your love interest, they're interrupting your first kiss. Don't even think about sharing a heartfelt revelation about your identity that you've been keeping secret all this time, even as you grew closer to one another. We all know the consequence for that. A sled to the dome just before you can voice your deepest secret. Eddie narrowly avoided such a death last episode, after acquiring Elsa a jewel necklace by exploiting the gratitude of the drunk abuser's wife, but tragically before he could present it to Elsa along with his secret identity, Venom. This chapter will see Venom attack Spar Carnage in a combat brawl to the death, or to the plot contrivance. Battle to the plot contrivance. If you're enjoying watching us read these fan fictions, like, comment, and subscribe, baby. If you have a fanfic to suggest or fan art of something we've read, fanfiction that we've read, you can email us at fanficnight@orderoftheleague.com. This is Fanfiction Theater, a celebration of naive writing in all of its foibles, flaws, and unconventional hilarity. God damn it.
Next up, we've got Carnage on the sleigh ride. Okay, this is another collab.
Yeah.
Eddie Brock is professing love for Elsa, but just then Carnage is throwing a sleigh at him.
No, I like how Carnage looks like E.T. crossed with Mr. Hanky.
Yep.
So much happening. Wow.
Again, we did it so that one of us did the sketches and then the other finished everything, but we gave ourselves a time limit for the sketch.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have drawn everything but Carnage. I'll just kind of make this bean-looking character, and we'll go from there. And so,
I love it. It's better than regular
Bean
Carnage.
Boy.
Improvement, I would say.
I do have to say, Eddie's hips don't lie.
Oh, man, look
Yeah,
at that.
yeah.
Girl,
He got hips
you
for
gotta hit
days.
the gym.
also, Misha thinks my joke with the writing is too obscure, but I think somebody got it because I heard somebody say it was then. Because it's everything is crossed out after 'twas then.
I would, yeah. Okay, got it.
Now, in an earlier chapter, wasn't Venom like swinging around from mountains, we presume, and saying, "He's like, I don't know where Carnage is, but he's up to no good." And all that he did was get a sled.
Well,
He
we don't
was
know.
gathering
He's up to
sleds. He had
no
multiple
good.
sleds.
well, okay.
Yeah, he's a Donkey
Yeah.
Kong of sleds.
Yeah.
Chapter 5. Eddie let the symbiote consume him as he turned into Venom. It started at his feet and then worked all the way up to his torso. That's not all the way up.
Yeah. Also, did you guys ever see where the Venom forms around his head, and somebody changed it so that he's got googly eyes? That's just what I'm picturing.
I didn't see that. What I'm
It's
picturing
really good. It's
is
very
that
funny.
he's gained a little bit of weight, and now Venom doesn't fit like he used to. He has to work it up. All right, I've got it up to my torso.
Elsa, can you hold on here while I just shimmy into the... He took one last look at Elsa with his own face before the symbiote covered it. After that, he didn't want to see the fear in her eyes. He didn't want to know if she was afraid of him like she was of Carnage.
Elsa!
On a screen, does she manage to pull her sister out of the way in time before the two monsters collided in battle? At this point, many of the people fled for their lives. The people, just the people anyway.
Right, yeah, just the common rabble.
However, a few stayed and watched from a safe distance.
Come on, we need to get out of here.
Kristoff said as he tried to grab Elsa and Anna and lead them to safety. However, Elsa pulled away as she couldn't stop watching the black monster known as Venom battle the crimson monster, Carnage. Good, she knows who they are. Did they introduce themselves? I don't think so.
He showed up and he was like, Eddie, or should I say Venom? And that was a big reveal.
Right,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
did he introduce himself as Carnage, though?
And then he said,
Probably.
oh, by the way, my name's Carnage. You probably don't know that because I'm from another universe.
Right, exactly, yeah.
She couldn't believe the man she came to know as Eddie Brock wasn't even human. It all made sense as Eddie words rang in her head again. Eddie words.
Got some Eddie words around in here.
Then again, I'm
Like,
just as
yo.
bad.
Meanwhile, Venom and Carnage were caught in a battle to the death. Venom managed to grab Carnage and slam him to the ground at full force, leaving a small crater, and began punching him repeatedly with blinding strength and speed.
Out. Battle to the death. That means one of them better freaking die at the end of this fight. And I don't think that's going to happen, right?
After the 7th or 8th punch, we're not sure. I mean, who knows? Like, it's your story, dude. Come on.
Oh, right.
After the 7th or 8th punch, Carnage managed to kick Venom back. How did he manage to kick him back with a punch? And then leapt on top of him and began pummeling him.
Well, then why did you kick him away?
So more punches.
Right.
Venom eventually grabbed hold of Carnage's fist at mid-punch, and then grabbed him by the...
And then they punched.
20% of the way through a punch, he was able to land a punch of his own,
Right.
and then grabbed him by the throat with his other hand and threw him a few yards back. He then leapt to his feet and bolted at him, but then Carnage jumped and avoided him and landed right behind him. He then turned his right hand into a whip and wrapped it around Venom's throat. See, there's some variety
stuff,
for
yeah.
you, all
There's
right?
some creativity.
Around Venom's throat and slammed him into a nearby stone wall repeatedly.
Nearby
Venom then
Stonewall
managed-
Jackson.
Venom, I was thinking the stone wall in. I was like, whoa, going for some social commentary here. Venom then managed to break Carnage's hold and shot his web out to catch him. Whew. He then used some web in his other wrist and began to pull Carnage in with both web strands. Carnage used his claws to try and escape, but with one final yank, Venom had him right where he wanted him. It was then Venom swung the web and twined Carnage into the air and then sent him flying and then crashing into the ocean. Venom knew it wasn't over yet as a heavy silence filled the air. He could feel hundreds of stares on him as he watched the water waiting for Carnage to make his move. But even though he didn't look, he could feel one particular stare that stood out from the rest. Elsa.
Well, I bet she hates me now.
Eddie thought to himself. He didn't want Elsa to find out. Not like this. It was then the sound of something leaping out of the water snapped him to reality in time to catch Carnage flying at him. I love that turn of phrase. The sound of something leaping out of the water. Rather than trying to describe it, just the sound of something
It's like
leaping
a
out of the water.
splash, but backwards.
I had a book that I narrated that had the line, he heard the sound of an animal sound.
That's good.
Although he caught him, Carnage managed to swipe him across his chest with his claws. It hurt like crazy, but he was all right. Venom threw a punch, but Carnage broke free of his grip and went back on the attack. For the next few minutes, the two of them exchanged blows and countered one another's attacks. Eventually, some Arendelle soldiers arrived onto the scene and began to intervene. A younger soldier fired his crossbow and hit Venom in the back. Provoking more anger than pain, Venom shot his web to catch the soldier and pulled him close to his face.
You're really starting to piss me off.
Venom roared at him, to which the soldier said fearfully,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything.
Best reaction ever. Venom then threw him out of the way in disgust and yanked the arrow out. He then continued his battle with Carnage. As the battle fight waged on, it continued down the streets of Arendelle. Both of them traded punches and delivered kicks that could shatter bones to normal human beings. Eventually, Carnage managed to leap into the air and crawl up the side of a nearby house with Venom right behind him. He then began hopping from rooftop to rooftop at unbelievable speed, but Venom was still on his tail. When he reached the final house on the block, he did a backflip and landed in the street. He then began scooping up nearby objects, such as sleighs, carriages, and even a nearby pedestrian, and began hurling them towards Venom.
Okay, but the pedestrian is just a background character, so I'm just imagining like it's rigid because it hasn't been animated. It's just standing.
It's just T-posing.
Right, exactly.
It's such a Looney Tunes sort of image, right? Like just sleighs and carriages being thrown, and then suddenly in the middle there's like a dude holding on to his hat, like ooh.
Yeah.
Venom continued leaping from roof to roof, dodging all of the projectiles. As the person that Carnage had thrown came barreling at him, he dodged him and shot out his web so the person safely landed on it. Meanwhile, Venom had managed to pick up an even more intense speed than before as he leapt off the final rooftop and on top of Carnage.
He picked it up, and he find it as like a...
Yeah, there's a little glowing like arrow forward, and he was like, all right, more speed. Right before he made impact, he quickly brought his elbow forward and let it collide against Carnage's face. The fight became an all-out street brawl as the fight started to drift back to the marketplace. As they fought their way towards the fountain at the center of the market, Carnage formed a sledgehammer from his fist and knocked Venom straight into the fountain. Venom landed on his back and saw Carnage flying towards him with his razor-sharp claws. However, he anticipated his advance and managed to roll out of the way in time as his enemy clumsily collided with the fountain. He's like, no commas, just no commas.
Yeah.
He then grabbed Carnage and with all of his might slung him into an empty warehouse nearby, causing it to collapse from the force of the impact.
There's a warehouse in Arendelle?
Sure. They got to store their sleds somewhere.
Yeah. True.
The next few seconds sped by as Venom waited for Carnage to emerge to continue the fight. However, what happened next caught even him off guard. A large wooden beam came flying out of the wreckage with terrifying speed and impaled Venom against a building. Whew. The sight of Eddie being impaled by the 20-foot beam caused Elsa to scream in panic, especially when she heard Venom roar from the paint. Is it weird that Elsa hasn't used her powers yet? Again, I haven't seen Frozen.
I was noticing the same thing. Like, she should be immediately at least trying to freeze these two.
She's essentially Frozen.
They're destroying her town.
Yeah.
Let them tucker each other out first.
Right, exactly. They're using your own people as projectile weapons. Do something.
Out of desperation, she ran towards him, shouting,
Eddie!
Venom looked up to see her coming, and Eddie's face quickly appeared as he yelled,
Elsa, don't!
But it was too late. Before she could make it to Eddie, Carnage grabbed her and fled to a high point overlooking the bay. Seeing him have Elsa enraged Venom, and so with renewed strength he pulled out the beam as the symbiote covered his face again with its own. I guess it was Eddie. Venom was like, oh shit, there's a piece of wood coming at me. Better get the hell out of here.
I'm going to let Eddie take this one. You got this one, Eddie.
Yeah, I Olivia noticed that as well as me. I wasn't going to say anything, though. Have there is an active verb. Seeing Carnage, he's seeing Carnage have her, and it's like, that doesn't read quite right. He then leapt upwards to where Carnage and Elsa were in an attempt to rescue her. When he was 10 feet away, Carnage held Elsa by the neck with his left hand over the edge of the cliff and shouted,
I'll drop her.
To which Venom shouted,
Let her go. Your fight is with me.
Terrible choice of words.
Wrong. My fight is with humanity, as yours is supposed to be. Or it was before this pretty little blonde deluded your mind. Eddie, help me, please.
Elsa managed to gasp to him.
Okay, again, that's not Elsa. For crying out loud.
It's like this guy watched the first 5 minutes of Frozen, or I don't know, maybe she uses her ice powers in that 5 minutes, but he was like, all right, she's some princess chick.
Actually, no joke, she does.
Yeah, as a little girl.
Actually, you know what's funny is the symbiotes. One of their weaknesses is loud noises. So she should be singing at him.
Yeah. Hearing her plead made Carnage laugh hysterically.
Oh,
Ha 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 ha.
He then smiled. So the drinking game here is then. He then smiled at Venom and said,
This woman has made you soft. Did you really think she'd ever love someone like you?
that last remark cut Venom deep. He hated to admit it, but he truly was afraid his enemy was right. It was then Carnage quickly added,
Still want me to let her go?
Oh.
Let her go. Get it?
Oh, God.
He
I
did
guess the
release
quote's over.
his grip, causing Elsa to plummet down towards the jagged rocks below.
Okay, yeah, I was like, oh, all right. Venom dived down after Elsa to her rescue. As he did, he could hear Carnage howling in laughter and shouting down to him,
Ha 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 ha! Love is weakness, man. Does he say man a lot? Love is weakness, man.
but he wasn't listening for saving Elsa and But he wasn't listening for saving Elsa, and protecting her was his only concern now. As he closed in on her, she shot his web to catch her.
She shot his web?
Apparently, she used her mind control powers.
Oh.
Meanwhile, Elsa... I also love his use of meanwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah, meanwhile, over there.
Well,
Just like
feet
it's
away.
like those slow fade. Just something happening in the same action scene.
Meanwhile, Elsa was screaming in terror as she neared the bottom filled with the sharp, jagged rocks. As her death literally grew closer by the second, that's true of every second.
Right.
As her death literally grew closer by the second, she had abandoned all hope, until she felt something wrap around her waist and pull her upwards with supernatural speed. What could it be? Within 2 seconds, she was in the embrace of Eddie Brock, or Venom. Once he grabbed her, Venom shot another strand of web up and swung the both of them to safety. As he looked down into her eyes, he instantly made his own face appear.
Are you all right?
He asked with worry in his voice. All she could do was nod to Eddie as she hung on to him for dear life. Eddie could tell that she was still in a state of shock, but then she quickly said,
Thank you.
Not too long after that, Eddie landed with Elsa still safely in his embrace. He then let her go as the crowd gathered around him. And this,
again.
I don't think he's even getting that he's making a pun.
That
And this time with royal guards whose weapons were raised at him. Anna quickly wrapped her arms around Elsa and shouted,
Thank goodness you're all right.
She was at the verge of crying as she continued hugging her sister tight. Meanwhile, the captain of the guard shouted to Venom,
Put your hands where we can see them, monster.
to which Elsa quickly ran in front of him and waved her arms.
Leave him alone. He is not our enemy. This man saved my life.
Oh, okay, sorry. The soldiers instantly lowered their weapons and backed away. It was then Kristoff asked,
where's Carnage? Like
He's just standing around now,
he's just waiting to see how this. I'm
gathering
Right,
up more
right.
sleds, probably.
yeah.
Kristoff asked, What exactly are you?
I was just reading up above to see, Carnage just disappeared, didn't he?
Yeah.
I want to assume that off-screen an avalanche hit.
Yeah.
To which the guard captain barked,
Something from hell itself. You don't know what hell is.
Eddie roared at him in an inhuman voice which caused many of the townspeople to
that's gonna
shrink in
help.
fear.
You're not helping, Eddie.
He then collected himself when he saw how everyone was afraid of him. Much to his dismay, even his friends were scared of him. Although Elsa was still defending Eddie, he still felt like he had blown it. There was no way she would love a monster like him. Or so he thought. Maybe he was better off alone. No villain had ever... Or so he thought is utterly unnecessary there.
Yeah.
Maybe he was better off alone. No villain had ever won the public's love. He then knew what he had to do.
You were an anti-hero at one point.
Yeah, it's slight liberties. Eddie Brock turned to his full human form so Elsa could see him one final time. He then put his head on Elsa. He then put his head on Elsa's shoulder to get her attention and said, "Oh, he then put his hand. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Elsa, it's okay. They're right to be afraid of me. You should be too. I told you that I was no hero. I'm a villain, and I always will be. I'm sorry it had to turn out this way."
As he spoke, he began backing a few feet away from her and then said,
"You deserve better than me anyway."
He then resumed his full Venom form and shot Webb out and swung away. As he left, he thought he could hear Elsa screaming,
"No, please don't leave me. Come back,
but then again,
Shane."
but then again, he could just be hearing things.
Oh, well, yeah.
Right. I mean, he's...
From all the bells that got rang in his head, he might just have tinnitus.
Right.
Ms. Weird Friends points out, I hate it when a guy shoots his web and swings away. And Olivia points out, Elsa could be replaced with literally any generic female character, which is totally true.
So Elsa, remember she has powers because I'm going
Apparently
crazy.
not.
Like,
I know.
when she was falling down, did she make like a ice ski jump or something? You know, like Frozone makes those things and slides around on.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Just God damn it, she's not a damsel at all.
He's totally not.
Remember that for this author, who was, I'll remind you, Man of the Year, 1989. He's writing this because Frozen is something that his wife enjoys, and he's just, this is his interpretation.
Oh god, he's getting no sex out of this. None.
No. My theory is that this is him like trying to show his like soft side to his wife. You know what I mean? Like he's like, you know, oh, I didn't think anyone could love a monster like me, but then you came along and were utterly useless at everything. Apparently.
And
and accepted me.